Hello once again, and welcome to another episode of the Euroman Movie Report. This week I'm gonna review for you The Dark Knight Rises, the third and final Christopher Nolan Batman film. I was initially gonna give this a not 100% positive review, but after having thought the movie through for 24 hours, I must say that The Dark Knight Rises was a good film with a good ending, and even though the story was a bit linear, it's okay. It's not as great as Batman Begins, but it's definitely an okay ending. And The Dark Knight Rises takes place 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight, and to briefly sum them up, by the end of The Dark Knight, Bruce Wayne is confronted by two villains, a villain, the Joker, and a very unlikely villain, the then District Attorney of Gotham City, Harvey Dent, who became the villain from the DC comic universe, known as Two-Face. And Two-Face, after having arisen, he commits crimes in Gotham City. And to hide this fact from the public, Batman agrees, together with Commissioner Gordon, that Batman has to take the blame for the crimes of Harvey Dent. And now, 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight, Bruce Wayne lives a secluded life in Wayne Manor, and he has run Wayne Enterprise into the ground, and meanwhile evil is brewing and plotting against Gotham City. And this, of course, results in Bruce Wayne having to resurface both as Bruce Wayne but also as Batman. And this evil, of course, is manifested by the character known as Bane, played by British actor Tom Hardy, who is very menacing as Bane. The Bane you know from the Batman DC comic is a bit different than the Bane introduced in or presented in this film. Bane, he still has the mask. His breathing is a bit like Darth Vader. And Bane, who is a mercenary slash terrorist, is on the payroll of one of Bruce Wayne's business rivals, and he wants Bane to do something which will run Bruce Wayne out of business completely. But Bane, of course, has his own agenda, which I'm not gonna divulge for you here, but you have to go watch the film. But Bane is definitely a bad guy. And of course, then there's Miranda Tate, Bruce Wayne's former business partner in a project regarding a fusion reactor, which Bruce Wayne Enterprise withdrew from before the Dark Knight Rises, and this has cost Wayne Enterprise a lot of money. And I'm not gonna reveal to you, there's a connection between Bane and Miranda Tate. And of course the main villain of the Batman Begins, Ra's al Ghul. But I'm not gonna spoil the movie completely for you, but it's an okay plot, and of course then there's the ending. The ending reminded me, after having thought it through, very much of the ending of Inception. And here's a spoiler, and now you're warned. By the end of the film, after having faked his own death, Bruce Wayne is seen at a cafe in Italy, a cafe which Michael Caine's character Alfred told Bruce Wayne in the beginning of, or in the middle of the film, that he visited while Bruce Wayne was off seeing the world in the Batman Begins. And there Alfred tells Bruce Wayne he would like to have seen him being together with a woman, because if he saw him together with a woman and that he had a son or daughter, then Alfred would consider Bruce Wayne having freed himself from the burden of being, of course, Bruce Wayne, and the hardship of being Batman. And by the end of The Dark Knight Rises, after we have seen that a funeral has been held for Bruce Wayne, Alfred sits at this cafe in Italy, and then he spots a man with his back to the table where Alfred is sitting, and this man turns, and it turns out to be Bruce Wayne. And that whole ending, it was very Inception-like, because Bruce Wayne had gotten a second chance. He had detached himself from being Bruce Wayne, and now he is able to live a normal life, and that made Alfred, Michael Caine, very happy. And of course, then there's of course Christian Bale, and I don't know if he was supposed to be like this, but he seemed like he wasn't like he was in Batman Begins. He was like he was worn down, and I don't know if he was supposed to be like this, but if it was supposed to show that being Batman, being Bruce Wayne had eaten him up, then it was of course cool, and it must be that way, I guess. But all in all, The Dark Knight Rises is an okay film, and with an okay cast, and Christian Bale, Tom Hardy, and Hathaway, and of course Anne Hathaway as Catwoman, Selina Kyle. And the interesting about Selina Kyle is Anne Hathaway's character is, initially when I read that they had cast Anne Hathaway to play Catwoman, or Selina Kyle, the cat burglar, then I thought to myself, this will not end good. But Anne Hathaway, she delivered an okay performance, and she looked very good in those tight suits they had her wear. And then of course there's Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox. He didn't have so many scenes in this film, but he delivered a fine performance, and Morgan Freeman is a fine actor. And then of course there's Miranda Tate, played by Marion Cotillard, who of course was in Inception as well. And she, and I'm not gonna of course divulge here what her connection to Bane and Ra's al Ghul is completely, but she gets to show how to once again play this mentally twisted character, like she played in Inception, when she played Leonardo DiCaprio's character's memory of his wife, and she's a very twisted character in here. The story is a bit linear sometimes, but it's okay, and if I'm gonna rate it, I would say 4 out of 5 Coca-Cola bottles. And I will return on August 3rd with a review of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.